because I get to do this every Sunday morning on Flashpoint too. Who all knows about our political show Flashpoint? Oh, thank you. Very good. So you're the ones who are watching, I guess. Well, you know, I have two co-hosts on the show with me. One of them is Kirk Humphreys. He's the resident Republican. He came in after Burns Hargis decided to go become president at OSU. And the other is Mike Turpin, the resident Democrat, who's been there the whole 21 years. And it was funny, I was thinking about coming and doing this last night right before I went to bed. And you know, sometimes you have dreams before you go to sleep about what you were thinking about. And it was kind of strange because there it is Sunday morning and I was thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to go to church because I've got this going, and I went to sleep. And I dreamed that I woke up and I was at the door of the pearly gates. It's a very strange dream. And the head man said, well, come on in. You made it. And I went in, and there was a room here, and I went in, and my roommate, in my dream, is neither male or female. It was just somebody who was just loud and obnoxious and always wanted their way and would not quit talking so I could get a word in edgewise. And I thought, what's going on? I've made it here and stuck with this roommate. And I went and talked to the head man. And as I was going down the hall to talk to the head man, I looked at her room, and there was my buddy Mike Turpin with Jennifer Lopez in a room. And I said, something is wrong here. So I went to the head man and I said, sir, I'm very thankful to be here, but why did you stick me in the room with this very difficult person? And he said, well, Kevin, you made it to heaven, but you haven't always been real good. And I said, look at my friend Mike Turpin. He's in a room with Jennifer Lopez. And he says, well, Jennifer Lopez hasn't always been real good either. Oh, poor Mike. Each candidate for the office of governor, lieutenant governor, and state superintendent of public instruction were invited to appear today. Governor Mary Fallin, lieutenant governor, Todd Lamb sent their regrets. Each candidate that is here will have 5 minutes. A little while ago, the candidates met to decide the order of appearance, and we're going to start today with Joe Dorman, the Democratic candidate for governor. And I think, don't we need all the candidates up here in these chairs right here? No? Okay, we don't. All right. Well, Joe, come on up, my friend. Joe has represented and served in the State House of Representatives for nearly 20 years, representing Grady, Caddo, Comanche, Cotton, and Stevens County. He is a Democratic nominee running for the office of governor of the state of Oklahoma. And Representative Dorman, you have 5 minutes to talk to the good folks. And I have a timer, and I will be, as you know, you've been on Flashpoint, I will be breaking in. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I've had the pleasure of being a co-host on there when Mike overslept one morning, so it certainly is fun to be on there with you all. And I want to know where you're eating late at night so I can avoid that place. I don't ever want to have any Turpin nightmares. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning. My name is Joe Dorman. As was said, I am a state representative from House District 65. I proudly served Grady, Caddo, Comanche, Cotton, and Stevens counties in the last 12 years with the great privilege and pleasure of working with all of those friends and families in that area, and especially the educators. I feel like I have had the great benefit of working with some wonderful education professionals through the years, not only the superintendents, the educators, but the board members who worked tirelessly day in and day out to make sure the needs of those students are addressed. I first got interested in politics back in high school when I was a student myself. I had the opportunity to serve in the state senate as a page, thanks to Ray Giles, my senator back home, through a 4-H award that he gave. That was my first real experience in politics, and I was hooked. Public service was in my blood after that point. Watching those men and women, people of minorities and different colors, working together to solve problems, that had an impact on a small town kid from Rush Springs. And I knew I wanted to do something like that. So I majored in political science, went to Oklahoma State University, and had the chance to work with some wonderful people while I was in college, and then start working on campaigns. My first job out of college was working in the mail room at the House of Representatives. I've spent about 20 years there. In fact, I started right before you all started the show. I remember getting up and watching the show and learning about what was going on around the state and seeing the problems that we faced across Oklahoma and the need for solutions. I knew at some point after working there in the House and working through different positions that I wanted to find a way to work in public service. That first job I had out there, I was about 160 pounds, had a full head of hair, and was idealistic and knew that we needed good people to serve. Well, 20 years later, you can look at me now, and now that I've convinced some of you to never run for public office because of that, we do need good people that are willing to go out there and work for the people, all Oklahomans. We do not have that, especially in the office of governor right now. When you look back into March at the rally that occurred at the Capitol, 30,000 Oklahomans showed up at the place where I work asking for assistance, asking for their voices to be heard, because they were not heard in their communities. They were not heard in their schools. It's been 8 years since teachers received a pay raise. It's been 4 years of policies that we have seen championed by Mary Fallin and Janet Parisi, the Board of Education appointed by Mary Fallin, and others who cater to special interests rather than the most important interest being our students. We've heard a lot of comments over the last several years, and one of my favorite political lines that I've heard that's used year after year, I want to ask you, are you better now than you were 4 years ago? I'm asking you, answer yes or no. That was the answer I expected. Anyone that tells you that Mary Fallin is an education governor is not telling the truth. When you look at the policies that have been championed by our legislature and signed into law, such as A through F grading, the grading system that's been placed on you as board members, third grade high stakes test, EOI instruction exams that truly don't measure the standards of what we need with cut scores that continue to change, the mandates that have been placed on you as board members without funding. The mandates are bad enough, but when you send mandates without funding, that's the politics as usual that we need to eliminate from that building. I've presented a proposal called Classrooms First, and it's in different phases. We unveiled the first, which would put additional funding into the classrooms. It would direct the state franchise tax, our business tax. How much time do I have left, Julie?
You're about out, Joe.
Well, I will finish up. I offered to take my opponent's 5 minutes since she didn't give you the courtesy of showing up. But we're used to that when she didn't show up at the rally either. I will stay and visit with you afterwards because it is important that we visit about this. Thank you for staying around on a Sunday morning. This is important. I will be your governor if you vote this year. I need your vote November 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Representative Joe Gorman. Next, we have Kathy Cummings, the Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Kathy, come on up. Kathy is in the business community. She owns Vito's Restaurante and a couple of others as well. And she wants to be the next Lieutenant Governor of the state of Oklahoma. And Kathy, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Cummings, and I want to be your next Lieutenant Governor of this great state of Oklahoma. Now, I am incredibly happy to be here with all of you today. And first off, I'd like to say I'm not an educator, and I'm not an administrator, but I am public school's biggest supporter. My husband and I both come from a family of educators, and I have the utmost respect for what all of you do every single day to protect our most precious resource, our children. And I am truly sorry for what has happened to this profession. As I said before, I'm not an educator, and what I do best, though, is marketing. And what I can tell you is that there is a brilliant 3-year marketing strategy run against our schools and our administrators. And let's go ahead and call it brilliant, because it was. But the thing that ruined it, the thing that nobody saw coming, 3rd grade testing. And testing 3rd graders and making those 3rd graders cry and take anti-anxiety pills and testing special needs kids with the same expectations of kids that are not special needs is what finally blew the sales job. But before making those 3rd graders cry, they had controlled the media. They had controlled the advertising. They almost took control of our schools, and they certainly had control of the conversation. And most of us don't even know who they are. That really almost everyone was sold a bill of goods, that all teachers don't know what they're doing, and that all administrators don't know how to run their departments, and that our entire school system was just ruined. Now, I saw this scam for what it is. It was a scam. I've owned my own companies for 15 years, and when all of a sudden a negative light is shed on one specific thing, and in this case the schools, from nearly all news sources and talk radio, I don't just see a red flag, I smell a PR smear campaign. Now, we have to figure out a way to take back our schools, and if you don't think you can do anything by yourself, you're wrong. And let me tell you, it just takes one person to put their head on the line. It just takes one person to put themselves out there. It takes one person who's afraid and does it anyway. Just one. And the reason I know this is because I was that one person. I went to meetings. I talked on the phone. I met with chefs. I even went down to the Capitol. I went to farmers market. And I couldn't get anything done about the low-quality food that was being served to our children in school. So I got tired of the runaround. I got tired of hitting a brick wall at every turn, and I said, the heck with it. I am just going to go undercover as a lunch lady and get video proof of how bad everything was in those cafeterias, and people can't argue with the facts. Like I said before, I'm not an educator. I'm a chef. I own restaurants, and I know about food and nutrition, and I also know that our children are suffering from obesity and diabetes, and I know for a fact that children can't learn when they have poor nutrition. So I applied online at the school nutrition program in Oklahoma City, and after the interview process, which I did give my real name and real background information, I was hired and assigned to Taft Middle School in Oklahoma City. And I made a documentary about the low-quality food that was being served to our children. But here's the kicker. I presented the documentary to news outlets, but no one picked it up. Even people in the newspapers who followed my story every single day and promised to write an article about it all walked away. So I used social media to get it out there. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, I spent thousands of my own dollars in advertising to target teachers and principals and anyone interested in education so they would see my video. And after a couple of months, a couple of news sources started picking it up. One thing led to another, and the evidence from my documentary was used in not renewing the contract of that company that served low-quality food to our children. And people had fought for years to get rid of this company. And the documentary is on my website, voteforkathy.com. And I know I have to finish up and my time is limited. But I want to remind all of you, be the one. Be the one for our children. Be the one for our kids' future. Be the one for Oklahoma. I know it's scary, but do it anyway. Don't tell me it can't be done, because I did it, and so can you. My name is Kathy Cummings, and with your help and your vote, I will be your next Lieutenant Governor of this great state of Oklahoma. And if it looks like I'm asking for a job, it's because I am. And it better pay more than $7.25 an hour. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Kathy. That was Kathy Cummings, the Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. We're now going to move on to the candidates for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. As you know, there was a primary runoff, and it's coming up Tuesday, between Democrats Dr. Frida Deskin and Dr. John Cox. Again, that's Tuesday. The winner will meet Republican Joy Hoffmeister in the November general election. And today we're going to start with John. Dr. Cox, you're up first.